أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوسف أيها الصديق أفتنا في 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات لعلي أرجع إلى الناس لعلهم يعلمون. قال تزرعون 7 سنين دأبا فما حصدتم فذروه في سنبله إلا قليلا مما تأكلون. ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك 7 شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحصنون. ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فيه يغاث الناس وفيه يعصرون. وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي. فلما جاءه الرسول قال ارجع إلى ربك فاسأله ما بال النسوة اللاتي قطعن أيديهن إن ربي بكيدهن عليم. قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه قلن حاش لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء. قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين. وما أبرئ نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي إن ربي غفور رحيم. وقال الملك ائتوني به أستخلصه لنفسي. فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض يتبوأ منها حيث يشاء نصيب برحمتنا من نشاء ولا نضيع أجر المحسنين. ولأجر الآخرة خير للذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون.
Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilman ya kareem. Inshallah, we are going to begin from verse number 47. That's where we stopped off. Since it's been a bit of a gap, just a quick recap as to where we stopped or where we've been. So we talked about the king and the king actually seeing, let me just lower this down, this is annoying. Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah. Okay. So the king, he saw a dream, and we talked about the dream last time, that he saw a dream and there was 7 fat cows, then there were 7 thin cows, and fat cows were eating the thin cows, and what is going on? So there was an entire dream that he saw, right? That 7 weak cows are being eaten, 7 fat cows, so he sees سبع بقرات سمان, he sees 7 fat cows. يأكلهن سبع نجاف, and he sees 7 flimsy, weak cows, lean ones. Ijaf means something that is lean. They are eating away at those big fat 7 cows. وسبع سنبلات, and I also see the ears of 7 green ones, followed by 7 that are yabisat, that are dried ones. So he comes and asks the audience, his aristocrats, the bureaucrats that were next to him. He says, tell me if anybody knows what is the meaning of this dream. So over there, one of the persons from Sahibu Sijn, the companions of Yusuf alayhi salam, he remembered. وَادَّكَرَ بَعْدَ أُمَّةٍ. So he remembered after a long time, and he said, أَنَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِتَأْوِيلِهِ. Let me tell you, I will tell you the meaning of that dream. فَأَرْسِلُونِي. All I want is give me permission. أَرْسِلُونِي, i.e. let me go. Send me. Give me permission, I'll go and grab you the news. So here's where the conversation begins. So he comes back and he meets Yusuf alayhi salam, and he says, Yusufu ayyuha siddiq. O Yusuf, the truthful one. Over here, there's something very important for us to remember or to ponder upon, which is that after that many years, وَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ, after 9 years, almost 7 to 9 years, or after such a long time, the first memory that he has of Yusuf alayhi salam is ayyuha siddiq, O truthful one. Which also tells you that this was the predominant trait that left a mark on this individual with his interactions with Yusuf alayhi salam. That everything he said was true. And that's why he uses the word Siddiq. If the person had come and said, Yusufu ayyuha sadiq, it would have indicated that you told the truth once, and the dream that you told me, that dream came true, anta sadiq. You are truthful. But Siddiq is somebody who tells the truth multiple times, i.e. tried and tested. Every time the thing that comes out of Yusuf alayhi salam's mouth is the truth. May Allah make us like that. أَفْتِنَا بِسَبْعِ بَقَرَاتٍ. Give us a fatwa of 7 cows. And we talked about the meaning of fatwa too last time. What was the meaning? Anybody remembers? Aftina, it comes from the root word of fatwa. What does that mean? To make clear, okay. The word aftina, the word fatwa comes from word fitya, futuwa. And from there is fatwa. And futuwa as actually strength. Okay, strength. And fatwa is the art, or it's when you ask somebody, oh, I want so and so, I come to you and give me a fatwa in this matter. It is basically you're seeking power and strength from their knowledge in a space or an area where you have weakness in. And that's what a fatwa does. It fulfills the gap and strengthens you in your practice of your faith. So when you're doubtful and you don't know what to do, you take a fatwa. I am not sure, left or right. The Mufti says go left. Now you've been strengthened by the knowledge. So aftina bi sab'i baqaratin, that we need a fatwa from you about the 7 cows. Ya'kuluhunna sab'un ijaf. There are 7 cows that are fat. They are being eaten up by 7 lean ones. وَسَبْعُ سُنْبُلَاتٍ, and then there are 7 ears. خُضْرٍ وَأُخَرَ يَابِسَاتٍ, and 7 dried ones. لَأَلِّي أَرْجِعْ إِلَى النَّاسِ, perhaps I may go back to people. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, and hopefully they may have knowledge about this affair. قَالَ تَزْرَعُونَ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ دَأَبًا. At this moment, he responded to the request immediately. In a narration in Musnad Ahmad, it is mentioned that Prophet ﷺ, he says, لَإِن سُئِلْتَ, if I was the one that was asked, I would not have responded until I had negotiated my terms of release. رحم الله أخي Yusuf. May Allah have mercy on Yusuf alayhi salam. ما أصبر. How patient was he? That if I, or Rasulullah says, if I was in his position, I would be like, wait a minute. This is a great opportunity. Now I can negotiate my exit. And over here, Yusuf alayhi salam, he says immediately, قَالَ تَزْرَعُونَ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ دَأَبًا. You're going to cultivate 7 years, da'aban, continuously, i.e. there will be good crop. You'll have good fruition in this world. In good economic growth. And in stock market terms, you'll have a bull market, not a bear market. فَمَا حَسَّدْتُمْ. So فَمَا حَسَدْتُمْ, whatever you harvest, فَذَرُوهُ فِي سُنْبُلِهِ. Leave it, فَذَرُوهُ, leave it, فِي سُنْبُلِهِ, in its ears, i.e. don't take them out, don't take the grains out. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِمَّا تَأْكُلُونَ. Except that which is necessary for you to survive as a community or as a society. ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ سَبْعٌ شِدَادٌ. Then after those 7 are going to come 7 years of extreme difficulty. Famine, bear markets. يَأْكُلْنَ مَا قَدَّمْتُمْ لَهُنَّ. Whatever you had saved in the previous, good years that you had, the fruition, you're going to use up all of that stores in the 7 years to come. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مَا تُحْسِنُونَ. Except some that you will still be able to protect. Then it says, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ عَامٌ. This is something additional. So the dream does not talk about the 15th year. The dream talks about 7 and 7. So this is where you know that Yusuf alayhi salam is a Nabi, because he's telling them something that is not part of the dream. So he says, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ. After the 7 and 7, there's going to be عَامٌ. There's going to be an year that is going to come. فِيهِ يُغَاثُ النَّاسِ. In that there will be a lot of people, a lot of rain for people. And the other meaning, وَيُغَاثُ النَّاسِ, i.e. all the famine that they had suffered in the last 7 years, their pleas of help will be fulfilled, i.e. there will be economic activity which will lead to the ease of people. وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ. And in that year, you will be able to squeeze. Now over here, the meaning of يَعْصِرُونَ, the Mufassirun have went multiple ways. Number one is فِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ, that there's going to be so much grass, so much vegetation, that the animals that they had, those animals will give so much milk, تَعْصِرُونَ اللَّبَنَ, like you will be able to squeeze the laban out of the udders. That's number one, milk. So abundance of milk. Second, يَعْصِرُونَ, there's going to be so much fruit that you will not be able to consume enough, and the only choice you will be left with is to make juice out of it, so it doesn't go to waste. That's number two. And the other meaning of يَعْصِرُونَ over here is that you will have so much help, and this help is going to bleed. It's like عَصَرْتُ شَيْءٍ, that after all of this, you will finally have the fruit of all the 7 years of difficulties that you've had. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ. So an interesting point over here is مِن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ عَامٌ. After this year comes, after the 7 difficult years, يَأْتِي عَامٌ. So over here, the ulama, they have said, if we read in the Arabic language, you find that the word am and sana, both of them are translated as the same thing, which is 1 year. Yes. What's the difference? Beautiful. Ease. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala denotes for every year there was an ease for people. There was no difficulty there. Nobody's sitting there, you can come. Is denoting when there was ease. Sana is when that year was difficult. Okay? For example, in Surah Kahf, وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ 300 سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separated that tis'a, right? Separated that. And that's where the ulama, they said this separation from sana is an indication of ease too. And now we know from tafsir books that that was the year that, that Christian, that the Muslim Christian ruler came and then he ruled with justice. Then in Nuh alayhi salam's, it says, ألف سنة إلا 50 عاما. So they say that the 950 years was the da'wah and the difficulty. The 50 عاما was after the tufan, after the flood. The 50 years was really good for Nuh alayhi salam, where there was fruition and people listened to him and he was able to. So am and sana comes interchangeably. Over here too, if you look at it, so من بعد ذلك عام. So after 7 سنين دأبا, there's going to be 7 years. But even in those 7 years of harvest, there's going to be difficulties. But then you're going to have a year that will be full of ease from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. And the king said, bring him to me. So right away, the king is like, man, this is some genius guy sitting in the prison, right? So that also tells you that people generally that are in key leadership positions, they should always never judge a person based on the status or based on what the circumstance that person is in, right? An intellectual person can be found amongst villagers too, right? He's just not being given the same opportunities. So over here, the king does not say, oh, wait a minute, this is a prisoner, right? قَالَ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. Bring him to me. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهَا الرَّسُولُ. When the messenger came to Yusuf alayhi salam, this time around, first time around, he says, "Udhkurni inda rabbik." First time around when he's interpreting the dream, he tells the person, make sure you tell the king about my situation to him. So he stays there for 9 years because of that, right? Over here, this time around, he has loved, he has developed the love of being in that solitude with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So over here, he's not in a rush to leave. So he says, "Irji' ila rabbik." Go back to whoever sent you. فَاسْأَلْهُ مَا بَالُ النِّسْوَةِ الَّتِي قَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ. So ask him, the king, about the affair of the women that cut their hands. إِنَّ رَبِّي بِكَيْدِهِنَّ عَلِيمٌ. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my Rabb, is well aware of what took place. There's a lot of lessons over here. Number one, the adab in which Yusuf alayhi salam spoke about that matter. Right? So this was, this was literally in our terms, she attempted to have an affair with him. So he didn't say, oh, can you go ask about these women, that were like lustrous and they were like, none of this illusion. He alluded to them in the most respectful manner. Fas'al balun niswatil, didn't point out anybody, did not say, well, what about the woman of the head of the police department, this Aziz Mr. What about this woman? Right, can we figure that? Like, do you know what she did to me? So he didn't even allude to her. He just made it very generic and kept it simple and says, ask about niswat allati qatta'na aydiyahun, the one that cut their hands, what happened to them? So the king right away called them, and instead of asking, what did you do? He already accused them. قَالَ مَا خَطْبُكُنَّ إِذْ رَاوَدتُّنَّ يُوسُفَ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ. So over here we know that the king has already done his grassroots investigation and he has already come to the conclusion that they were at fault. So the way he's positioning the question already alludes that you are the ones that were at fault. You tried seducing him. قال ما خطبكن. What was your affair? إذ راوتن يوسف عن نفسه. When you tried to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam with his own self. So the accused, the people that are being accused, these women that are being accused, they're accused of immodesty. Look at their response. Look at their response. And to this, Fakhruddin al-Razi, right, rahimahullah, he said something so powerful about this. He said, you can never win an argument with a woman. He said that. And he said, وَدَلِيلُ ذَلِكَ is that these women are in front of a king and he has blatantly accused them, saying, رَاوَدْتُنَّ يُوسُفَ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ. You seduced Yusuf. They respond back, they said, قُلْنَا حَاشَ لِلَّهِ. Allah is so perfect. مَا عَلِمْنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ سُوءٍ. We don't know any evil about Yusuf alayhi salam. It's just like, they never responded to the accusation. It's just like somebody, for example, there's a woman, she attempted to kill somebody or kill some person. And then the woman is captured. And then the woman is asked, did you try killing that person? And the woman responds, he's alive, right? Isn't he? So she didn't deny that I didn't. So they never denied their actions, but the way they responded, they took themselves out of the entire equation and they did not even absolve the woman, Imra'atul Aziz. So they left the blame on her. Hence, she was forced. So they all said, oh, man, we didn't see anything wrong with Yusuf alayhi salam. He's the perfect guy ever. Ma alimna minhu su', i.e. there's nothing like that happened. He is pure. Not that we're impure. They did not say that. He is perfectly pure. Then the woman, Imrat al-Aziz, she was forced to respond. Right? That's why she responds. قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق. So Imrat al-Aziz now says, now the haqq has become evident. Can a couple of the brothers go take out some chairs from the room inside? So there's more brothers coming this way. There's in the room there should be some chairs. Maybe one stack and we can stack them inshallah. Jazakallah khair. So she says, Al-ana hashasal haqq. Now haqq has become absolutely evident. Hashasal haqq. The word hashasa is hassa. Hassa al-haq. The actual sentence was Al-ana hassa al-haq. That now, and the word hassa actually means to mow down or to so when you lawn mow something, you actually get to see after you've done, you've mowed the grass, you actually see the actual color of the grass, which is dying because of no rain for the last, X number of days, right? Everything is turning yellow. So hassa shay. Hassa rajul. The Arabs, they say hassa rajul is a man who does not have any chest hair. I.e. the skin of that man is visible and it is not covered with any chest hair. Right? Hassa al-ibil is when a camel places the front two on the ground and refuses to get up. Hassa al-ibil. That person has guarded itself, and now it becomes evident for everybody that this camel is not going to move. Okay? So the meaning of hassa is that whatever was hidden has now become absolutely clear. Okay? Al-ana hashasa. So why the extra hashas? Why the extra hasad? This is the way of Arabic language to emphasize. So they will take the first two of, so generally Arabic letters can be formed with three letters, three alphabets. The root of them can be 3, can be 4, can be 5, can be 6, maximum 6. The root letter of something that can, mashallah. The brother's like, I'm going to take care of that. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Right? So, hashasa, you take the first true of any root letter and repeat them, not every word, we can't just pick up any word and say tomorrow I'm going to add rawattuhu, so I'm like rawattuhu, like I'll create my own word. It's words that the Arabs actually do. Give me another example of where they repeat something like that. Yes, the Arabs, rab, right? Like kub kibu, right? Kabba. Yeah. So Zamzam was actually Zamzam. It was Zam. Stop. So she said Zamzam. Emphasize. Stop. Right? And that's why it became Zamzam. So it's like a phonetic thing that happens in the Arabic language. Or even the Arabs when they see something really bad, like they'll say this sound, which means like this is repulsive. I don't like it. Right? But then they will emphasize it by saying what? Right? So they will repeat the first two for emphasis. أنا راودته عن نفسه وإنه لمن الصادقين. I was the one who seduced him, and he definitely is the truthful one. He didn't say anything wrong. ذلك. Now this is interesting. This ayah, the next ayah, it can be said by three individuals. Okay, the next ayah can be said, you can attribute it to three individuals in the story. Okay, ذَلِكَ, this entire scene and this testimony of mine, لِيَعْلَمَ, so that he knows. Who knows? Aziz Misr. So who's speaking then? Imratul Aziz. So first meaning, ذَلِكَ, this story that I just told, لِيَعْلَمَ, so that Imratul Aziz is saying that my Aziz, my husband, لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي, me, the woman, لَمْ أَخُنْهُ, I did not deceive him, I did not betray him, بِالْغَيْبِ, in his absence. The second, it could refer to who? Yusuf alayhi salam. لِيَعْلَمَ, so ذَلِكَ, the reason I sent this messenger back to you, O king, now he's in the presence of the king, and he's saying, ذَلِكَ, I sent that messenger, this entire thing I did and this whole thing, لِيَعْلَمَ, my Aziz Misr knows, أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ, I did not do anything wrong with your wife. Jameel? Then, the third, which is ba'id, but it's also mentioned in our tafsir, this ذَلِكَ is referring to, no, it is referring to Aziz Misr talking to the king. Aziz Misr talking to the king. ذَلِكَ, I placed Yusuf in the prison. So you know, O king, that when there was a discourse like that, I kept your kingdom alive and I saved it from all of this thing coming out in public. ذَلِكَ إِنِّي فَعَلْتُ, I did this, I sent Yusuf to the prison. لِيَعْلَمَ, so you may know, he may know, i.e. the king may know, أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ, I did not deceive you in your absence in the unseen. I kept your kingdom alive by taking this thing. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the plots of those who betray. Kha'in. And towards the end of now, until the end of Surah Yusuf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give us maxims for life. Life. Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never guide those who plot to betray others. Even momentarily, if you feel defeated, if I feel defeated, if we feel that we've lost, and this is so important in the times we're in right now, where we feel that everyone is betraying the Muslim Ummah, where we feel there's betrayal happening, like our own people are betraying us, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like, Allah will not guide. Inna Allah la yahdi. These people will not be guided. Guided towards what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala left it open for your imagination. Allah will not guide them to fruition. Allah will not guide them towards prosperity. Allah will not guide them to anything good that you don't want them to have. Kayd al-kha'inin, if they are plotting to betray others. Most of the calamities that were dealt, the Muslim Ummah was dealt with, it had to do with somebody from within the Ummah that was the person who betrayed us. All the time. It had to be someone, and if you read history, you'll see the ummah is in the rise of project, and there will be like this one guy. There's one guy in the middle who's going to be like, no, no, no. I need to work with the other side because I can get some money. And they will betray. They will kill. And the history is filled with that. And it's just not Muslims also, right? Recently in Nepal, I think 7 years ago or 6 years ago, the entire royal family was killed. The entire royal family was executed when they were sleeping by one guy. Their own cousin who said, i.e. the uncle said, go and, you have good will with the king. You can enter without any issues with the palace. Do this over the night. Tomorrow morning, I will make you the crown prince. So he went and killed, I think, I don't know, like 18 or 20 people of the royal family, entire lineage wiped out overnight. This is public news, right? So khiyana, and what happened? This person got his kingdom, but it didn't last for more than a year and a half, and then he was himself killed by his own nephew. Ajib. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. This statement is either Imra'atul Aziz or Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay? وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي, and I do not absolve myself of any responsibility. Nafsi. إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. Indeed, our nafs, all it does is it surely consistently commands us. Ammaratun, that it not just commands you once, it constantly is in a state of commanding you to do something evil. And from there you have, the ulama, they have said that there are nafs al-lawwama, nafs ammaratun bis-su, and nafs mutma'inna. Okay? These are the three nufus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about. Ammaratun bis-su is this evil, i.e. every good thing you think of creating something bad out of it. Your nafs cannot think of anything good. Even in the best possible solutions, the only thing your nafs is saying, how can I cause more fasad here? Subhanallah, may Allah protect us from this nafs. Then you have nafs lawama, which is the middle, which means when you end up committing something wrong, your nafs says, man, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that. This is not right. You should go apologize. You should say sorry. So it tells you, يَلُومُ نَفْسَهُ. It tells you you're wrong. Fix your situation. This is not right. And they say that nafs al-lawwama is أول إرهاصات. It's the first beginnings of a person towards taqwa. When your nafs starts telling you there's something up, you need to start reflecting. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why do this? And usually I'll tell you like how this practically plays out. Like I know of an individual, for example, they watched TV shows and movies at a level that you cannot imagine. Like when I say, like you're talking about like 7, 8 hours, 8, 9 hours a day, all night long, like just watching, and not something haram, like just one TV show after that, like one this like constant binging, right? Until their nafs had it, and then I was like, why are you doing this? Why can you not switch over? Why? And eventually they got fed up with doing so much bad that their nafs started saying, man, I'm tired of this. Like this is becoming too monotonous. You need to either do more sin or start getting towards good. Right? Nafs al-lawwam. So it will tell you to do something and it will rebuke you that you've done something wrong. And then nafs mutma'inna, okay, this is not a class of tazkiyah, but again, nafs mutma'inna is a state where the ulama, they say, whether you have or you don't have كل الكفتين سواء, i.e. when Allah takes away from you or when Allah abundantly gives you, you are equal in all cases. Because you are so content with not what Allah has given or taken, but who is the giver. You're content that it is coming to me from Allah. And that contentment itself leads you to itmi'nan. That I am very satiated, that I am the abd of Allah, and I am very happy with whatever Allah has decreed for me. Sometimes it's bad and sometimes it's good, but itmi'nan, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that. إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. So the natural disposition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the nafs is going to command for evil except if Allah's mercy is upon us. So first thing we learn from the ayah, the natural disposition of our nafs is it is going to command us for evil. If there is no wahi and if there is no suhba salihah, if there is no pious company, the natural disposition of our nafs is it will push us and always command us to evil. So when we are fighting our nafs and we are fighting shaitan, two powers. We are fighting two powers. On the other side, you only have good company and some ayat and stuff that can touch your heart, that can hopefully propel you on the other side. The natural disposition of your nafs is it is going to command you for evil, except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His special mercy upon us. Allahumma arhamna ya Rabb. Inna Rabbi ghafurur rahim. How do we become worthy of Allah's rahmah? By remembering that no matter how many sins you and I have done, no matter how many times we have become a victim of ammaratun bisu, we have become a victim of this nafs of ours, inna Rabbi, indeed my Rabb, he reminds himself, Yusuf alayhi salam, but for you and me, that indeed my Rabb, ghafurun rahimun. The word ghafur comes from the word ghafir, ghafara shay'an. Ghafara ay satara. Okay? Ghafir is to cover. Now, ghafir is to cover, and to cover in such a manner that if it was to be uncovered, it would not exist. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says, يَأْتِ عَبْدٌ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. A person is going to come in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His book will be given to him. And he is going to flip through this book. And then he's going to find that there are things that I did, I don't see them in the book. So he's going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, Ya Allah, inni adhnabtu dhunuban lam ajidhu. I've done things in this dunya, I don't find them in my kitab. Where are they? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to tell that individual, he said, Satartuha laka fid dunya. I covered that sin of yours in front of the people in this dunya. وَسَأَسْتُرُهَا لَكَ الْيَوْمِ. And I have also concealed it today, i.e. you're not going to find it in the book. It's covered, it's concealed, there's no effect of that sin on you. Then the person is going to be like, Ya Allah. And then Allah says, and I have given you for every sin that I have covered for you, hasanat, good deeds. So he's like, Ya Allah, remember that major sin that I did? I also want a reward for that. And that sin that I did, I also want a reward for that. And that major sin, it's like, you're giving me reward for that big one, right? Like, yeah. So he's going to get so emboldened with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he's going to be like, all the major sins, just make sure that they get converted. He gets so happy, he exposes himself of everything that Allah has covered. Right? Subhanallah. This is how human beings are. قال الملك, the king says, ائتوني به, bring him to me. أستخلصه لنفسي. I will exclusively make him, i.e. every CEO, every company, usually they have these private consultants. Right? They're just like their advisors, they have in and out access, and they don't have any position, but they have a special consultancy position. They report directly to the CEO, not to anybody else, and he can confide in them, and he can, throw ideas and all of that. أستخلصه لنفسي فلما كلمه. So now the king spoke to him. إنك اليوم قال, the king said, إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. Today, O Yusuf alayhi salam, you amongst us, you have a status of somebody, makinun, a well-established person. You're trusted, established. We don't need to worry about you anymore. Aminun, and you are the most trustworthy person we have over here. At this moment, he says, قَالَ جَعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَائِنِ الْأَرْضِ. Make me, appoint me, اجعلني, appoint me, على خزائن الأرض, i.e. make me the secretary of what? Treasury, finance, literally treasury, right? خزائن الأرض, the treasures of this earth, i.e. make me the secretary of treasury or finance minister. Let me manage the finances for you. Why? He says, إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ عَلِيمٌ. The quality that I have that qualifies me for this position is inni, indeed I am hafidhun. I am very, very hafidhun. I properly guard the secrets. I'm able to guard various things that need to be guarded. I mean, money has to be guarded. We did not have financial mechanisms like today. So they literally required understanding of how do you protect the mal, how do you protect the money. Alimun, and I have absolute knowledge about this. Now it is mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had inspired him with this knowledge because he was in prison all his time. So this was knowledge that Allah had given him with wahi. This was the knowledge of the world. And likewise is the case with Anbiya alayhim salam. Right? What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say about Dawood alayhi salam? That وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ لَبُوسَةَ حَرْبٍ صَنْعَةَ لَبُوسٍ, that we taught him, Dawood alayhi salam, how to make armor. So he was a haddad, he was a blacksmith. Dawood alayhi salam worked in a blacksmith shop, and he was the first one that was able, وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ, we made iron soft for, so his mu'jiza was he was able to take iron and use his hands to mold iron without any, and then he was the first one to make a chained armor, and then later on it became a normal thing amongst the people. So over here he was given this ilm of treasury, how to manage finances. Now what did he do? And I always had this question, what did he do, until today actually I got the answer. So I always wondered, like, how did he manage those 7 years? The difficult years. The good years is, so in the good years what he did is he saved. So he used 20%. He allowed people to use 20%, and the 80% of it, he used it and he preserved it. So everybody was on a ration for the 7 years of the good years. But then the next 7 years, what happened? This was an answer that I was looking for, but I found it today. So the first year of famine, he said, whatever money you have, give me the money, I will give you grain in return. So we buy from dirham. So the umla, or the monetary currency that was used in the first year of famine, was dirham. In the second year was jewelry and all the ornaments and whatever existed. So all the money, all the money was gone, and now whatever jewelry, any precious items that somebody had, then they were sold. In return, he gave them grain. The third year was the year of real estate. Iqarat. Okay, fine. I will give you X amount of rain, but now your house belongs to the treasury. Okay, so it was like, no, yes, I'm going to give you grain from the government, but in return you have to pay us. You have no money, you have nothing left, no problem, no precious items. Then in return you'll put, he placed, so this is not a new concept. He placed a lien on each of those properties. So you owe the government a lien of X amount for your property. Okay, which means they would have to pay back once there's money. Okay. Then year 4, they were running short on armies. They needed people to build armies. So he said, okay, we'll buy back your slaves. So you have slaves, the government will buy the slaves. So you will come and sell the slave, and then that's the money monetary, and this way he was able to take the slaves of everyone and put them in the army to protect himself and the others. Then the 5th year, it was clothes and personal items. Okay? Now they have nothing left. The last 2 years, what do you think they did? I'll leave it on you guys. No. What do you think? You have to really grasp. I was a bit shocked when I actually read this. Yeah, but what are you going to give loan? You've given all your assets. You don't have anything. The kids and the wives were sold into slavery. Year 7, the man himself sold himself into slavery. And that is why, as it is mentioned in Qurtubi, the king came to Yusuf alayhi salam and he said, Kulluna, all of us are now at your mercy, Yusuf. He controlled the entire. So then, the am yughasu fihi nas. Remember, he did that. There will be it'll be full of fruition. Yusuf alayhi salam interpreted this as the peak of his da'wah. So he said to all of them and told the king, I, as the treasury bondholder today, will free everybody and release the liens on every person's properties. In return, you all have to become Muslim. فَدَخَلَ الْمَمْلَكَةُ, the entire kingdom became Muslim in the planning of how he did it. And he interpreted عَامٌ فِيهِ يُغَاثُ النَّاثِ الْغِيَاثَ مِنَ اللَّهِ, that Allah's mercy is going to descend and all of them are going to become Muslim. And this is by far the best answer that I have come across in Tabari. Ajib. Yes.
There might be people, they're just getting Islam, okay, getting back, working back. They might not be.
He was a Nabi. He was a Nabi. So with the Muslim, what that's a good question, but the simple is, نحن معاملتنا على الظاهر. We deal with the person on a ظاهر. Okay? So a person says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. The Imam has to say, okay, can you explain to me what Ashhadu an la means? Can you explain to me Allah? So as long as he says, I believe, it's not up to us to check if they actually did it or not. That's number one. Number two, we have so many people who are Muslims and then they leave. Right? So if anybody decides to leave Islam, we don't hold them accountable for that, right? But obviously this was the Nabi, this was their prophet, right? And they understood him as a prophet, and so they wouldn't betray him like that. How much time do we have? Okay. وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. This act, وَكَذَلِكَ, is the explanation of what I just gave you. Likewise, we established Yusuf alayhi salam, i.e. with all the planning and everything that he did. This is how we established Yusuf alayhi salam in this earth. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ, i.e. he owned everything. This ayah made sense to me today. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. What does that mean? He could go and settle wherever he wanted, because he was the treasury bondholder of everything, every property he owned. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَنْ نَشَاءُ. We, i.e. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we touch, we reach, and nasib of, i.e. our nasib of our rahmah, a portion of our rahmah, بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَنْ نَشَاءُ. We allow them to be touched by our mercy, whoever He wishes. Allahumma ja'alna min al-marhumin ya Rabb. وَلَا تَجْعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَحْرُومِينَ ya Rabb. And do not make us from those who are deprived. وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Another learning point, maxim for us. If you did something with ihsan, every single person in this dunya, they will disown your ihsan. Or they are capable of disowning ihsan. Ihsan is when you do something فوق المطلوب, when you do something beyond what you are required to do. Okay? Ihsan is when you tell your children to empty the dishwasher. Okay? They empty the dishwasher and leave everything as is, all the handles. That's not ihsan. Ihsan is when they empty the dishwasher, they put everything back and they see the counter that is dirty, and they're like, oh, let me just clean that too. Right? فوق المطلوب. Ihsan is when you do something beyond the call of duty. Above and beyond. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Everybody in this dunya can waste your reward of ihsan. But if you do ihsan in this dunya, Allah is the one, Allah says, we will make sure that your ihsan is never gone to waste. If you did something in this dunya for someone, for somebody, for your job, for your company, and you did it for ihsan, you did it and you were not required to do, that person will forget your ihsan. The individual can forget your ihsan, but Allah will never forget your ihsan. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ. And at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't seek from your ihsan the reward of this dunya. Don't seek that. Because the reward in akhirah, khayrun, it is way better. I.e., to be rewarded for your ihsan in akhirah is much better than to be rewarded and to be accredited and acknowledged in this dunya. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ. It is better لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. The only condition is that we enter akhirah with iman. Allahumma amitna ala al-iman ya Rabbal Alameen. لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. And the other condition is that when they were in dunya, they were كانوا في زمن في دنياهم يتقون, they were in a state of taqwa. Now the word yattaqun over here is really interesting, because whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the muttaqeen in the past, He never uses present continuous tense. He always uses past tense. Muttaqeen, muttaqeen. وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ is an indication that their state of taqwa was a constant effort. يعني الاستمرارية والدوام. So, i.e., they would get out of the state of taqwa, but they would get themselves back into taqwa. Something would happen, ammaratun bisu would happen, and you get back into taqwa. So, yattaqun is this perpetual oscillation that we have between in and out of taqwa states. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? So, this is Allah is like, who are going to have a better reward in akhirah? لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who had iman. وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ, i.e., they were in a constant effort of seeking taqwa. Sometimes they would drop the ball, but then they would get back and pick up the ball again. They would never disown that ball of taqwa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to truly understand. Inshallah, we're going to start from وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةُ يُوسُف. Now the story of Yusuf and his brothers. That might take us the next session, and then I think we should, I think we're just halfway right now. Yeah, we've got 18 pages to go, inshallah, of the surah in this book. So, inshallah, we'll stop over here if anybody has any questions, and I